So, and now we look as if we're all here.
Yeah, this is Austin, Father Austin.
Let's have a quick wave. Sorry, it's my hands in the wrong place. Right. So where are we all now? We've got. I live actually near Frankfurt in Germany. We've got the east coast of the USA, the west coast of the USA.
And the Midwest. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, wow. You guys are all over the place.
Yes.
I'm going to have to sort of check on that in just a minute, but let me do my little introduction. Hi, everyone. This is Country Music News International. My name is Nigel Sharpe. And as you can see from all the various pictures here, I am speaking to a group of Dominican monks. I hope that's correct.
Friars.
Friars, yes. And I'm very bad at names, so I'm going to get out of that one by asking everybody to introduce themselves and give us your name, starting
Father
on...
Thomas Joseph. Father
There we
Thomas
go.
Joseph White.
I'm Father Austin Litke.
Father Justin Bolger. Father Simon Teller.
Father Joseph Hagan.
Thank you, gentlemen. So here we are. Why am I speaking to a group of Dominican friars? Well, obviously because they make music. They are the Hillbilly Thomists. If you don't know what a Thomist is, look it up on Google. You will find a lot of information. But like my friend back in the UK, if you've heard of Thomas Aquinas, then a Thomist is someone who follows his teachings, his philosophies. But I do want to make this a more musical evening and less of a theological one. Has anyone heard of Canterbury Cathedral? There's a good question.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Of course,
Okay.
yeah.
So my musical life started there as a chorister at Canterbury Cathedral, which is amazing in terms of its acoustics if you're going to be singing. And I guess that's one of my first questions, really. Did you all sing as small boys in church?
I sang in a church choir, in a youth choir when I was a kid, but that was not a central part of my musical
Okay.
child. But most of us sang together in seminary and choir. The seminary school that we had at Dominican House of Studies.
We all lived in Washington, D.C. in the 2010s, and we do sing there when, we're in community life every day in the offices, what are called the offices of the Psalms, the psalmody, where you sing the Psalms and hymns. And that's just a part of the way that the community life, that you pray. But we were all also musical people before we entered in different ways, all of us with some musical background, including in folk music or bluegrass music. So, when we are, have time off, just for fun, sometimes we would play folk music, bluegrass music, Irish music. And so the band has its genesis from playing music, you might say, outside the chapel in kind of recreation or in, kind of for fun. It became a kind of serious hobby. You might say it became a serious hobby of Catholic priests.
I'd have to say it seems like a somewhat unusual hobby.
Totally eccentric.
Yeah.
Totally eccentric. But also spontaneous, like authentic.
Yeah, there we go. Now, as I understood it from your website, which as I mentioned before, I've got this on my other screen. Are you not on tour, the Marigold Tour?
That's right. The Marigold Tour began on July 18th.
So you're not all playing together on this tour. How does that work?
Yeah, well, in one sense, we're kind of a musical collective.
We're accumulating more and more people as the tour goes on. So, for example, the next stop we have is in Park City, and Father Jonah, who plays guitar, will be joining us from New York City. And then we're going to Pierogi Fest in Whiting, Indiana, and Father Austin will join us there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to St. Augustine, Florida, and 2 more will join us there. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to Savannah And then Father Thomas Joseph will join us there, and then we'll all be a happy family together.
Yeah, so we're accumulating Thomists.
Yeah, so we're
As we
snowballing.
move
We're snow.
from west to
Yeah,
east.
I mean, we have 8 members in the band, and when we
right.
record, usually all 8 are there. But then when we tour, we kind of have to like see what our schedules permit. But we're doing about a week where most of us are together.
Yeah, I was going to ask also, I mean, do your ecclesiastical duties, as it were, somewhat impinge on your ability to go out and play music?
Totally, absolutely. But they all, because like a lot of times we don't, it's hard to find time to record and tour, but we usually do it at least 2 weeks every summer. And then the other thing is that our ecclesiastical duties give us opportunities because, our music is basically bluegrass, folk, Americana music, but it has some kind of references sometimes to Catholic themes or Christian theology. That's not our main preoccupation. We're not trying to kind of sneakily make people religious. We're more interested in the music for its own sake. But we put our theological views in there sometimes seriously, sometimes humorously. And because we're in these ecclesiastical circumstances, like a lot of our fans like to hear us play there. So a lot of us are working universities. We play often for students. We have a big fan club among young students, but also like young Catholic families. But just ordinary people who discover us on Spotify.
Yeah, and you always play in your robes because
That's kind of how
that's what you wear, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's coherent. It's
that's,
coherent.
that's part of your life. There was one other question actually I had about the merch. One of the logos is a good band is hard to find. And on that logo, there's what looked like to be peacocks. Why do you have peacocks?
Okay, so this is important. So the band took its name, you're right to say, from Thomas Aquinas, who was a Dominican, because we're Thomists, and it's bluegrass music, so we're hillbilly Thomists. But it's also a phrase that was used by a great Southern Catholic author named Flannery O'Connor, who said in one of her letters, I am not a hillbilly nihilist, I'm a hillbilly Thomist. Or people think I'm writing about hillbilly nihilism, but I'm actually a hillbilly Thomist. She kept peacocks in her garden, which is kind of famous imagery associated with her. And she wrote a story called A Good Man is Hard to Find. It's one of her most famous stories. So we said a good band is hard to find. And we put the peacock. So this is all homage to Flannery O'Connor, who, maybe she's not that well known in Britain, but she's a really huge author for the United States, and especially she's like one of the most famous Southern authors, along with William Faulkner and such. So there's a little bit of inside literary baseball there. We have a lot of references to her literary work in our songs. It's just kind of playful, but we put images from her books and stories in our songs sometimes. She says she's a hillbilly Thomist, and we thought it would be nice to put that kind of homage. But I don't know if we thought about it that much. It just we gave it that name and it stuck.
It just popped out of nowhere, as it were.
Yeah, I think whenever, because it kind of goes back to the genesis of the group, in that Father Thomas Joseph and I are a little bit older than the other guys in the group, and both of us. I'm from Kentucky. He's from Georgia. We found ourselves on the East Coast at a certain point in life, and I think subconsciously we're trying to reappropriate our Southern roots a little bit, and so got into bluegrass music and started playing. And then as we would get invited to give talks to different groups, we would just impose ourselves upon them and make them listen to us play old bluegrass music. And at some point, someone asked us for a name for the band, and we had other names. And then I think I just threw out one time, well, it's like, why don't we just call ourselves Hillbilly Thomists? No one's used that for anything yet. And it was this, it had all this background with Flannery O'Connor, and it seemed to kind of pick up the two essential elements of what we were paradoxically trying to put together. And it just kind of stuck.
It's a great name.
What were some of the other names?
The only other one I remember was Veritas Bluegrass.
Yeah, that's true. True bluegrass, because Veritas is the motto of our order, truth.
Okay.
So we were playing around with that. But anyway,
let's go to the new album, which I presume is called Marigold. So the material on that album, is that all from you, or are these other songs that you've taken from elsewhere? Are they in any way kind of like Christian themed songs, or is it just straight down the line bluegrass.
These are all, except one, songs that we have written. They're original songs. We wrote the music, the words, we arranged them. There's one traditional hymn that comes from, I don't know if it's British or American, Christ Has a Garden. But besides that, they're all songs that we wrote. And are they Christian? Or yeah, I mean they have Christian themes, like Father Thomas Joseph was saying earlier. We're actually not trying to be sneaky about it. We just like writing music together because we're Thomists, theologians, priests, that whole thing. A lot of what we think about is theological. But we also love not only bluegrass, but blues, folk, rock and roll, even punk music, dare I say, a few of us, or maybe even funk music. So we like all kinds of music.
If you crank the album, you can sometimes hear either birds if you record during the day or crickets if you record at night. They have the windows open. Mountain sound.
And if you play it backwards, you can hear Thomas Aquinas.
Still alive and kicking, yes. I think we'll bring it to a close now. And I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun talking to you about something I never thought I would do in the course of one interview, which is talk about music and theology.
Well, thank you, Nigel. It's an honor for us to be here. Thanks for all your work, and we're really grateful for the chance to let people know about our music.
Thank you very much. Big thumbs up and wave you goodbye. And take care of yourselves, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You too,
Bye.
Nigel.